So this is the last Skellige deck that I'm going to be putting out for a little while. I just wanted to express some of my ideas that I had surrounding the new cards and, different archetypes, and I was pushing towards 1,000 wins for the faction, and we're almost there, but I figured it's time to move on to different factions. I have a Northern Realms video coming up very soon. I just didn't have time to finish it for today, so we're going to be going ahead with this one here. And again, we did Blaze the Glory Warriors the other day. This is just a little bit of a different look at it with Patricidal Fury. You do play some different cards. Now, I do have some other ideas for this one with Fukusha, but it does compromise Sov and Morkvarg, so you have to pick your battles. You get a lot of points from Fukusha with the tier combo. You lose a lot of points because you don't have these things. So I'll include both versions. So if you guys have a preference, you can go and pick that one. To me, I've had just a pretty good time with this one here. The deck plays for a lot of points. Tier is very busted. You usually want to play tier after you've won a round so that you get the second ability here, and that's moving a bronze Skellige unit from our graveyard to our hand, discarding a card. The first time a bronze leaves our graveyard each turn, boosted by its base power. So that was more the reason to put Fukusha in the deck, but we do have the initial deploy, the Resurrection from Herald, and up to 2 War of Clans, and I think that's just fine. Most of your opponents that you play against are going to try and remove tier the first turn that they have a chance to, right? This is a card that's taken very seriously, and with the amount of mirror matches going on right now, it's very ambitious to say that this is going to live, and even if you wanted to go in and put a defender, it just wouldn't be worth your time at that point, so I don't recommend doing it. I think that you just have to accept the fact that you're only going to get a couple tiers off. So don't make the whole deck around it, it's just a nice card to have in the deck. Blood Eagle, obviously for the thins, we're able to cycle cards out of the deck. It's one of the few ways that we have to do that, so if we have Bloodthirst 3, we get to play a Warrior of Choice from deck. If we don't, we get to play something that's 7 provision or lower. If we're taking it early game, we're probably going for something like a Highland Warlord. If we're taking this late game, we're probably going for, well, we should be going for one of the gold warriors that we missed, like the Sov or the Herald or whatever have you, right? So keep that in mind. Herald, we could play one of 2 ways. I think it's better to save Herald for round 3 so that we get the 1 damage per turn engine that we got going on. But Herald in round 2 to defend a bleed or something like that's not all bad, especially if we're pulling back a Highland Warlord to get extra damage carryover for our raid cards. That's the way that you'd use it normally with the Herald. Now, Sov, in previous versions, I would greed it out a little more. I'd put something like a Halfru at 6 power, or if I could find it, or Raging Bear at 8 power, so we have huge boosts. But I felt like in this event, we didn't have the space for it. Everything in these types of decks are right where I like it, so I decided to go in with the Savage Bear. This is something that you don't keep in hand, you have to keep this in the deck. Now, I factored in for the odd time Sov gets bricked, is it worth only putting one of them in there? And my conclusion is yes. Out of several test games, I think there was only one time where I bricked it, and that was a greedy mulligan in round 3, and it was really my fault. So even then, the floor of the card is the 12 points we have if we don't get the bear. The ceiling's very high. We're usually playing Sov to defend a bleed in round 2, and I felt like it was a lot more comfortable to have this card in the deck than not because our round 1 play is so slow. So that's pretty well the idea there. Brand's nice, has Veteran, triggers Veteran for every card in the deck at the start of the game. If you look here, we've got the 1, we have 2, 3, 4, 5. It adds up pretty quick. In this version, unlike my Blaze of Glory, I don't have the Raiders, and that's because I have things like Champion's Charge and a couple extra units in the deck. So there weren't really a place for one of them, let alone 2 of them. But if you'd really like to, that's a consideration that you can maybe look at putting in the deck. And yeah, just tons of points. Really helps with the carryover. The King Bran play plays really nicely with the Dragbond Do as well. We're triggering the veteran at the start of the game. Then we can move one of these bronzes, which are very unimpressive in round 1, into our grave. And every turn, it's a 1 point per turn engine because we're boosting the card in the grave. And we're just stacking it on the invaders. And these can come back 10, 12 points if this is left unchecked, and we can bring them back as simple as a War of Clans. And then that play with the War Clans and the boosted base power ultimately plays into an even bigger carryover with the tier. So if I boosted this in Graveyard and with veteran status plus this, you get 12 points, let's say. When you get the tier boost, it multiplies that by 2 essentially. So you get 24-point Tursic invaders, which is absolutely ridiculous, and that's kind of why this deck is so scary the way it is. Champion's Charge, just really good for removal. Morkvarg, just really good for Tall Punish. Scoia'tael at 6 power, 6 removal, is really good to take care of an engine. We have removal, heavy removal, and tempo. Again, utility with the Feral Bond, and just having Brockvar Hunter is a really good value play, helping us get Bloodthirst if we don't have leader charges, whatever the case. This feels really good. Now, if I were to look at what I would do in the other version, it would probably be something like these go, and then this comes in, and then Jenge comes back in, like that, and then I have 5p, and then I'd probably go and I'd put in that. So that's the idea. I find in the mirror match, the Morkvarg plays for a lot of points though. And into knights and everything like that, again, Morkvarg sees a lot of points. But this is the other version that I could possibly throw in for you guys as well. If you don't like Raider, you can do Stunning Blow, but I think having the extra veteran tag's really nice. So that's kind of the way I'd do it. If I were to do it that way, oh, spoiler. But anyways, thank you guys for watching the video, and we're going to get right into the games now. And if you enjoy the content that you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you soon, and take it easy. So for the first game here, we got Mobilization Northern Realms. Just going to pour myself a coffee here. And you already know what it's going to be, right? Reavers. Typical Reavers. A lot of cards we don't want to play round 1. The fact that we're going first makes it very difficult. You would have to expect that they're just going to get down the engines quickly, and then we can't answer everything because it has armor, and then, you know, they go for the 2-0. So normally this is one of the worst matchups I think you could have. Also because a lot of our removal just trades poorly, right? I mentioned the armor, but also they don't go super tall. So any work that we've done to get things, you know, carried over as far as the raid cards doesn't really mean much to me, you know? In this case, you just hope that they commit more than they need. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get the boo herd down or something at least. I have work in about an hour, so I'm trying to get this done. However, I don't think I'm going to have time to have this uploaded. At the time, I'd like to have it, you know? That 8 a.m. is kind of the sweet spot for me, but I'll make sure it's put up at some point in around my lunchtime, so if it's a little late, I apologize, but hopefully everyone has some good plans for the weekend. Personally, I'm going to take it easy. I'm trying not to spend a lot of money because Christmas is coming up soon, and I gotta get some gifts started and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, I'm really itching to make some more content, just like uninterrupted. And I wanted to finish Dying Light 2 before The Witcher came out, but it's kind of pushing it. Like, I played a bit this week after work, but I was doing mainly little side missions and exploration stuff. I didn't really want to get into the plot too much, wanted to level up, and I think I'm going to grind campaign, just get that over with this weekend. They're doing typical Reaver stuff. It's kind of why I'm talking over it. You'd expect that they just wipe the whole board. It's, do we greed that extra click on the drag bond do, or do we just say okay and go for the pass? I believe that if I play in, they will pass, and then we're just even in a worse spot. But yeah, I saw some comments about when am I going to stream next. It's difficult. If I'm going to stream, it's gonna have to be early, okay? And maybe on an afternoon on a weekend day, I think would be the best option. Because primetime evenings, especially weekends, have never been very busy on Twitch. So if I hop on, let's say Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, either of those feel like a really good option for me. We can test some decks for different factions. Like I said, I covered Northern Realms a little bit. Maybe I'll show you guys some more of that deck. And I'm gonna have to move on to some other stuff. Syndicate got some great support that I'm interested in, so that could be the next thing. So they just go and cram it down, leader and everything. They went on even, so there's really nothing to lose. If they can set up quick enough, then we're in a bad spot, right? And this is what I'm talking about. I believe that if we survive this round, we win the game. But it's about getting to that round 3, so. And the carryover's not even established the way it's supposed to be. The raids don't even have enough power to kill off a 2 and a 2 armor.
This is no time to whimper.
It just feels like we're chasing so, like, from behind. If we don't, if we can get out of the rounds, we're definitely going card down. You see, like, I can't even keep up the points, and then they have the 3 passive points per turn, so. Again, still 4. It's not doing really well for us.
This is no time to whimper. Don't recognize your old mate.
The only choice that you have, and you know, we could definitely set that up, but we can clog their row if we really need to, or try to, so that, you know, they have to pass because they're not getting any more value from spawning. That's the good thing about this leader that I like. So I thought about doing a bunch of other stuff. We could still take back the Tursik Invader off the Herald, so that's not a big deal. But it's about trying to reduce these, you know, constant points they're getting. So, get rid of a couple engines here. Tier round 2 is pretty bad as well. Decide at this point, maybe we don't try to go card down. Maybe we try to just stick with it a little bit, you know? And F. I'm gonna include this because it's so embarrassing. But, yeah. Forgot about the Rolox. So, when I introduced Sov, when I revealed Sov, I have that image of Sov stuck in my head. So, a really unfortunate situation where I forgot about the most recent patch. They made him roll-locked. So we lost, actually, 8 points there. I'm just grateful that we actually get out of the round. And although we didn't get to put tier down the way that I'd like to, at least we got the carryover of 9 points. So, whatever. But you guys can at least laugh at me a little bit in the comments for that one. I deserve it. Jeez. And, yeah. Good old Savage Bear. So yeah, maybe you ought to put the roadlock warning on, Q, you know? I always say, like, I don't need it, but then I do stuff like that. Yeah, we just outpoint them here. It's not enough time to get the value from the engines. We just come out of that one alive. And moving on to the next one here, we got Blaze of Glory. By the way, Mr. 86, great game. This was a lot of fun to play. Nice avatar, nice border. I was dreading the somewhat mirror match, especially because Bog has higher provision allotment, so it just felt like, okay, here we go. One thing I was really happy about is the ability to go second here. So when you're playing the mirror match, try to do it in such a way where you're developing better carryover than them. Focus on the mission as quick as you can and getting down the warlords, getting down the Dragbondu, all that stuff, okay? And then, second to that, focus on preserving resources, right? We know what's in their deck or what's likely going to be in their deck, so try to spend less. And normally, whoever goes first in round 1 is sort of put in a position where they have to spend more, right? So that's a big thing. See, I'm looking at it like this. First Blood Eagle charge, Alula's down, you know. That sort of thing. Now, Dragbondu is something you actually want to play early, so I don't look at it like we wasted that. I look at it like we played that card optimally, right? Now we just hope that they don't pull into additional warlords with the lottery pulls, you know? Now, we're not too far back. I don't know how much I really want to play into this round all the way, but I do know last save Blaze of Glory is disgusting, so they know it too, and we have to play in a little bit more. Setting up the Bloodthirst 3 here. Fortunately, we can just go ahead and do this in one card, and I don't mind taking Sov here. It's what he is for, right? I trade Sov for Alula. It's not the best trade. However, in this case, we do get the Thin, and I'm hoping that going into a round 3, we just draw better. Okay? My hand is perfect right now. And for once, Morkvarg in a mirror match isn't trash. Put Bran back. Gonna greed it up for later. Tons of raids for round 3 is pretty good. I didn't even notice the brand in their graveyard at first. So it feels decent. Part of me wanted to just YOLO because I knew long round 3 is kind of annoying. But I think if given the opportunity, you're supposed to just let them play and respond. So going into round 3, they would go first. Then we just respond to everything they're doing. You know, gives me an opportunity to take out the Herald, to remove tons of stuff before it gets that value that they're looking to get out of it. Whereas we get minimum of 1 turn value. Feral Bond in round 3 just doesn't hit the same, so I like Feral Bond in round 1. Yeah, they're going for the clan setup, going for the Herald setup. This is why I don't like drag in round 3, just because if you have everything to bring it back and your opponent has no control, it's fine. But I feel like by round 3, you should just be ready to go. And obviously, they didn't pull it earlier, otherwise they would have played it. And it's not tutorable in this deck because it's not a warrior, so better late than never. Scoia'tael, I think, trades pretty nicely there. We could just remove the Herald with something else. It's really awkward to find out when you want to play the tier, because you know that if it's too late into the round, they have Bloodthirst, which sets up their Gutting Slash easier. If it's, I guess, too early, then we just don't play our things, but yeah, this is fine. We get the early iced here.
Skellige and Qcento shall stand ever together.
So, no one else dares face me?
Now we just want to kill the iced. Arguably just the best champion's charge here because of the amount of points it could play for. I have more warlords I'm trying to play. That's the problem. I'm just glad the leader's done. It feels like such relief here. And they did a really good job at baiting out the champion's charge, because now it gets weird. I have to remove that in 1 turn, and I don't really have the means to do it without Slash. You see, it's Bloodthirst 2 damage 8, so it's not even enough. So we actually have to play something, and we can't get it on the first turn, so careful with that. Just, had we been able to play the warlords earlier, maybe it would have been better, but like, very good reads by the opponent here.
Reasons for the feeble of heart!
I feel like we've recovered mostly from it. Now we just have to maximize the value that we're getting from the remaining raid cards. We got 3 left. It's just like another thing that involves my attention this moment, you know? Look, all 5s, so we need 6. their sequencing is just like on point. Hopefully. At this point, though, we have to play that that warlord.
I'll gut you like fishes.
Yeah, we're getting crushed.
Only one walk away from this.
So we know they have one boosted card in hand, right? Because the tier. So I'm waiting for the Morkvarg for that. And this is why last say is really important in this matchup, especially if you have that tall punish. Seeing them with Feral Bond in round 3 actually feels pretty good. Okay. Finally, we can get some trades that I'm looking for. So, I'll take it, carry over for Brad, we get rid of their engine, we get the point slam. So, one card gets punished, and whatever this is. Yeah.
Burn the homes, fell the trees, enemy shiny, plunder!
Just sink it for the full damage here. Go with the Bran. 11... Yeah, 11 points. Not great, but it's fine. Now, I think this does it for us. Yeah, 16-point Raider. Zeal. Boom. And then we just try to finish it off here. See if we can make the points to the leader, right? It's going to be a close one. It was way closer than I was comfortable, but, you know, we got it done. Again, great game for the opponent. And moving on to the next one here, we have Scoia'tael and... Is it traps or is it elves, right? That's the big question here. I feel like elves have that tempo. They can really push us in that round too. And traps, well, that we just trade down on so many things. So either of them don't feel exceptional, right? And it's hard to tell these days because regardless of what type of build they are, usually the opponents are just playing scenario in round 1.
Drive the ape men into the sea.
Nice. There's an argument to play that on melee. Just because if they are trying to put down like a bowman and stuff like that, we're giving them the extra point by playing on ranged. In this event, it's looking more traps because they have that one there, so... I try to correct the behavior here by playing the right card on melee, but... it's fine. I don't think we can ever win this round. If it's traps, though, you definitely want to win the round, so it might even be worth committing more than we thought to get it done. Jeez, eh? That tempo pass, and we know that's Horn. What I would probably do in this situation is I'd probably pass just because we know how many points they have set up and how many provisions they spent. But what I decided to do is obviously crank it because Chad. We're just going to go for the Sove play. It almost stuck on the wrong row. It scared me. There. Remember, Sove does opposite row. So if we clog their row, it doesn't work like that. So that's really what it took. It took a leader, Sove, first Blood Eagle, like Vabjorn. It took a lot. A lot for scenario. On the right side, we don't play as hard into tall removal last save for them because we can just slam down a big point slam at the end. And we have round control now, which is great. And we don't give them a bunch of tokens for free late game. So all these things make a difference. Now, once you start to believe that it's traps, it makes sense to play in because they'll still have units at this point and we can trade better with them. Also, traps are very slow tempo plays, so we get out a couple traps here, we try to get out of the round basically. You see what I mean here? Everything's looking solid. When warriors actually bleed. Say 2 traps. And that pretty much does it for me. I play a unit, I'm trading down. I play a special, I can't. Or I can, but I'm trading down potentially 11 points. There's a lot of things, right? So that could be enough to just push you out of the round. Because you don't know what it is. You'd expect Serpent or whatever have you, but again, random traps. Okay. Why they didn't put it on the front row? Okay. That's pretty clean.
There's no escape.
Wow. So, to their defense, those are probably like the 2 worst traps you could have pulled there. Pitfall, Serpent Trap would be much better. How to go into a round card down and come out card up. So Pitfall, then full leader crank. So we get them to use their leader when they didn't even want to use it. You gotta love it. So either they have Aileron in hand or they don't have Aileron in this case. You gotta watch for those things. Or was it round 1 they got Aileron? Yeah, it was round 1, I think. They would, regardless, because of the combo. There's some don't even run Feign Death, which is like a round 3 Aileron play, but that's usually more like in movement, I guess. Like the old Guerrilla Tactics leader, I've seen it that way. So let's get ready for a sad round 3.
Peace with humans? I buy that. We'll build up Skellige with our bare hands.
It's casual 24 point. I sort of regret not putting like another special back, like Feral Bond, but I guess Feral Bond is proactive. Yeah. I feel like he's done his job, so we get 9 gone, we get 8 back. Wasn't really a great Serpent Trap, but we know they played a Tory, so... Veteran is likely the best case here, except for that. If it were anything else, like, we'd have potential to heal it up, so... Solid removal for them. I think last say Tursik's just good. 24 point slam at the end. If you look at how many points they're getting if they're flipping these 3, 6, 9, 12, let's say 3 more. Yeah, we would just win off the back of the one card, really.
I will not bet my neck on that shepherd.
Unfortunately, we have to discard here. Unless, there we go.
What are you doing? Time for you to die.
So we can play Champion's Charge, just eat that up. Yeah, so we won't have to play the last card. Veteran comes down, nice and simple. Vernal
Aim between the eyes. Leave none alive.
just wasn't enough. There we go.
Or need I kill you again?
We got the last game of the day here. Double Cross Nilfgaard coming up next. I have to say, since Fukusha was taken out of the deck, I find this matchup's more comfortable. They used to get so much value off of Fukusha. Just the create and play aspect of it, like the assimilate, because you're basically, they're creating something in round one, they're bringing it back to Fukusha later, they're getting multiple assimilate procs in one turn, basically. Plus the rain damage, you know, utility, so many things. And then if they hit bribery, like they always do, then they do it all again, so. Okay, so I have a really good Champion's Charge target. That's probably going to be the best one that we get in this match. Now we just have to stay in long enough so that we can get that Bloodthirst and not have them suspect it. I don't want to remove things, I just want to damage them, and that's the problem. If I had a Feral Bond, it would be great, or another Warlord just to buy me some time. But things like Gutting Slash and Primal Savagery in hand are just not very good here. That's just okay. They sort of just like did it for me. Sure. Look, easy. That's the last time they ever choose that option. Guaranteed. The only thing I just don't like is that it doesn't get us ahead. If they didn't use the stratagem, that would have been perfect. Now they have the option to pass. I think if they do pass, you'd still play in this case. You want the round control. They help set up the clans. There's not much else I can play here. We trade down on a Primal, so it's just better off to play this here. And now Primal's in a better spot, right? I feel like we can definitely go ahead and play the Hunters now, or the Warriors now. It's awkward in round one to get that 3 things that you can damage, you know? That was a 9-point play. I think sometimes we overvalue the Rune Mage. Assimilate, Rune Mage is still very good, but you know what I mean. Like, if it's just a random deck where create and plays aren't that important, Rune Mage usually plays for 10 points. Okay, so I took away from what I wanted to have for my primal savagery, but we could still set it up again with the other warrior, so it's not all bad. Okay, I like their use of the torturer there. It's not a very good pick. And then we could just use Gutting Slash, prevent any sort of assimilate value, stay ahead, which is great. Oh wow, okay. It's just like almost enough to just let him have it. But there's 2 hit 7. Morkvarg's decent on the token here. It's not great either. The idea is if I get a pass from them, Gutting Slash is enough to take it. If I get a pass from them, you know, Savage is enough to take it. Whereas, could have went and just taken out the Torturer there to begin with, but this might be enough to push us out anyways. Kind of have to do the math on it. We trade down on that by 1. Yeah, at this point, we saw a leader. We can afford to spend it ourselves. I'll get rid of Torturer next. If they proc assimilate, that's the next thing we remove. Decided to do it this way because even if we do go all in, we have the tier carryover, so. The fact we let that heal though is not. Had I known they'd just keep going, I would have gotten rid of it much sooner, for sure.
Your name, young man, demands you be cursed into an earth.
Okay, so that's fine. Like, that's a lot of stuff out of the way. Brathen's round 1, Leader round 1, Truffle, you name it. It's a big deal. Now, I thought about something here that's actually pretty clever. If you play tier and they dry pass, or, well, they pass on us here, we can dry pass round 2. Which gives this card advantage, right? So, they have to respond to it. Which they do. And for me, that is actually not a bad look. Because otherwise, we'd have maybe a situation later on where they'd get like a 20-point yen. Because it's doomed, they don't even get to replay the card for extra points. I need a throw card. Dragbond doing a pass is actually the best thing you can think of. So we expected that. We'll go move an invader. As always, it's usually, well, it's always what I pick in this deck. If it's the other warriors deck, then maybe you pick a raider, but we pretty much got into round 3 where we do the best. I don't have Sov, and we don't have Herald, and you just have to pick one, really. I'm pretty happy with everything else that I just decide, you know, maybe it's just Herald we go for. We forget about Sov. Sov's harder to set up at this point of the game too because of the reckless leader we took. Just cranking charges out in round 1.
Watch close.
I noticed not having Berserkers helps a lot. They're getting the 1 point there, whereas like when I play Self Wound, whew, they're getting 6 points on the first one. It's expensive. Might as well just do this here. We still have 1 raid to play, right?
Let us finish this.
Me of strength, and for the Empire I endure.
I think they were expecting a full power one. So far, we're not in a bad spot, right? Terra Nova is going to be a lot of points. Been seeing decks where they replay Terra Nova, which is very painful. So to not have to deal with that, take Savagery there, get it out of the way. Perfect 5 points too. Torres a lot here. Would it have been more points? Let's see. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whereas if they replayed the Illusionist, they would have had the heal plus the 5. So maybe they should have done it that way, but we'll see. Actually, it would have been the 5 plus the heal. No, it definitely was the warrior then. Yeah, that's fine. Really comes down to one card. They don't have the yen, so now I believe the King brand is safe. We'll find out shortly. Thank you guys for watching another video, and I will see you very soon with another one. Boo hurt, last say hurts. Take it easy, guys.